Namaste and welcome viewers to another brand new episode of Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Pareek and on our show today we'll be discussing India's tourism. Is incredible India only limited to taglines? Well, the latest tourism data definitely suggests so. India's tourism sector is still grappling to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is according to the recent CRISIL study. While global tourism is bouncing back, India remains behind the curve. From January to June 2024, which is this year, India saw 4.78 million foreign tourists. This is a 9% decrease compared to last year, but we are still falling short of the pre-2019 levels. And one of the major reasons for the decline is the neighboring Bangladesh conflict. There's, of course, a lot of tourists that come into India from Bangladesh as well. And due to the political instability, a lot of those tourists are unable to make it to India. And the other reason is because of the tourists dropping from China as well, following the suspension of the direct flights. While other regions like West Asia and Africa are also experiencing a travel boom with increased footfalls, India's inbound travel is stagnating. Affordable destinations like Qatar, Dubai, and Vietnam, coupled with more favorable visa policies, are drawing tourists away from India. This is a concerning report and something that we need to ponder upon as well. And joining us right now on the broadcast are, of course, Pushan Sharma, who's the Director of Research, CRISIL Market Intelligence and Analytics, Subhash Goel, Chairman of the STIC Travel Group and Indian Chamber of Aviation and Tourism Committee, and also Ashwini Kakkar, the former Chairman of Mercury Travels. I'll begin with Pushan Sharma, quite literally the man of the hour, because this is your report that we're talking about. India's tourism industry, gentlemen, I'm sure all three of us agree here, needs a serious overhaul. I mean, in terms of infrastructure, cleanliness, food hygiene, women's safety concern, there are a lot of issues. But Mr. Pushan Sharma, why is India lagging behind the global recovery of foreign tourist arrivals? This is a concerning data.
Right. So if we look at the global data, countries around the world are about 96% of the pre-pandemic levels in terms of foreign tourist arrivals. India is at 90%. Now, there are multiple reasons. One of the critical reasons is that in 2019, China and Bangladesh accounted for about 27% of our foreign tourist arrivals. And from 2019 onwards, we've discontinued direct flights from China. So now what used to take about 6 hours takes about 11 hours through indirect flights, and the cost has also increased. Bangladesh is also having a few political tensions. That's also led to a decline. So that's one. The other is, structurally, if you look at the Incredible India campaign, it was launched in 2002. So it's about 22 years old. So, that also requires a rehash. And on the other hand, when foreign tourists are considering destinations, India is one amongst many. There are other destinations like Qatar, Dubai, Vietnam, Azerbaijan, Georgia, who've had very aggressive marketing campaigns, social media campaigns. Their visa policies are much easier. Qatar has, visa-free entry for multiple countries. And the direct flight connectivity also has increased to multiple of these locations. So these are some of the critical reasons why we're seeing India being slightly behind the curve compared to the other countries.
Right. A very interesting perspective that you're bringing here as far as the tourism sector in India is concerned. And also a quick follow-up question here. We are talking about India and the tourism here. And the perception as far as tourism is concerned also plays a major factor. India has a pretty politically unstable neighborhood. Everyone is aware of that. How has the economic situation in the neighboring countries also affected India's inbound tourism?
Right. So, like I mentioned, we draw tourists from our neighboring countries, China, Bangladesh in particular. 1/4 of the foreign tourist arrivals is from there. Bangladesh, some political tensions there have led to a decline, for tourism in India. But overall, amongst our neighbors, India is considered quite a lucrative destination because we offer a multitude of options and something that India needs to further build upon. Right from medical, spiritual, religious tourism to a lot of other attractions. Like we have one of the 7 wonders in the world in Taj Mahal. So there are a lot of opportunities, but we need to capitalize on them further.
Absolutely. To get more insight on this, let's also bring in Subhash Goel, who's also here with us. Mr. Goel, one of the things here that Pushan Sharma is talking about is the fact that Incredible India, the campaign, is 22 years old and we need a fresh campaign. No. This is something that a lot of tourism industry experts are also talking about. Just help me understand, why is it that despite the country's rich heritage, cultural attraction and the diversity, Why are we lagging behind when it comes to these newer destinations that foreign tourists seem to be exploring?
There are 3, 4 reasons. One is that even if the campaign is old, there has been no digital marketing, there has been no electronic marketing, there has been no marketing. India is absent from the foreign tour operators, programs. Not only this, on top of that, rather than increasing our trust by opening more offices, the existing offices of tourism promotion have been closed. Now, what the industry had suggested that at least appoint private marketing companies, local companies, before closing down your offices. Now they say the embassies don't have the bandwidth or the time or the budget for tourism promotion. So that is another reason. The third reason is that the Ministry of Tourism marketing budget has decreased. The tourism ministry used to give an MDA assistance to tour operators who were walking the streets of the world and bringing tourists to India. So that MDA assistance, which was given in the form of when we participated in international exhibitions and trade fairs, has been withdrawn. So our airfares were reimbursed. A portion of our trade fair expenses were reimbursed. Now that has gone. Secondly, against foreign exchange earning, the Ministry of Commerce had a incentive scheme, export incentive scheme, MEIS, which was about 7 to 10% of import licenses were given, which could be tradable to the foreign exchange earners based on their foreign exchange earning. That has been withdrawn. Plus, you see, as you rightly mentioned in the Crystal report, that Chinese no airline is operating, and the number of flights that were operating in 2019 have not, the entire number has not been resumed. And we, because Indian carriers have become more aggressive, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has a little protective policy. So a lot of airlines want to come. And thirdly, Delhi and Mumbai airports are choked. But other international airports have come up, like Bhopal, like Lucknow, Varanasi, but there are no international flights there. So we need to aggressively, the state governments need to market their airports in international conferences and to airlines, and invite airlines to participate there and make a case of why these airports are viable. Because now, for example, with Ayodhya, a lot of NRIs want to come, but there are no direct flights to Ayodhya from abroad, mainly USA and this. So we can have Lucknow flights, because a case or viable flights can be operated to Lucknow, and from Lucknow people can travel. It's overnight. I mean, you can do early morning to back evening. So
Absolutely.
a lot of, we need to open our skies. We need to increase our marketing more effective. We need to, have sensitize the overseas operators who were supporting India. We were giving a brochure support program.
Clearly, Mr. Goyal, like you're rightly pointing out, the infrastructure needs an overhaul, and we need to relook at the efforts that we are putting as far as the infrastructure and also the facilities are concerned. I want to get in Ashwini Kakkar here as well. Mr. Ashwini Kakkar, help us understand.
India has made a lot of progress on infrastructure.
Right. Mr. Goyal, we'll also get in Ashwini Kakkar here. I'll come back to you for more on that.
Yes.
Right. Mr. Kakkar, I was just asking you about, the common consensus here seems to be the fact that we need to invest a lot more in infrastructure, and also the marketing campaign by younger destinations, newer destinations seems a lot more aggressive. And that's something that India needs to focus on as well.
Certainly, I think one part is the communication aspect, and a lot of things have been said by Mr. Goyal on that, and I will come back to that. But equally, what I want to highlight here is one of the crucial things that the Indian government needs to do is to relook at the tax situation. When people considering travel to India, they consider alternative destinations like Dubai or Thailand or Singapore and so on. Now, Dubai has no taxes for tourists. I mean, Singapore has maybe 3%. Thailand has 2-3%. So most of the countries have 0 to 5% taxation. Now, if you look at the hotel taxes in India, they are up in that sector, in the luxury sector, at 28% tax. I mean, this is unheard of. Equally, I think if you look at the air turbine fuel taxes, they are completely crazy. The way that our tour operators and travel agents are taxed, it's unbelievable. And when you compound the whole picture, India becomes an unattractive destination. And with that result, 5 years ago, our outbound tourism used to cost the country only $5 billion a year. Today, the outbound travel by Indians is costing the country $31 billion. Because people are not only not traveling domestically, they are finding it much easier as the visa regimes get easier and easier. People are finding it better to travel to a Vietnam, a Cambodia. It's much cheaper. There are no taxes. There is no visa required. And even for people coming into the country on inbound travel, I think that taxes will make a huge difference. This is a differentiating factor which our government certainly needs to quickly and really look at, so that we can attract more tourists. So this is one aspect of the whole thing. The other aspect is connectivity and visas. I think visas, a lot of simplification has been done. E-visas have been introduced, and kudos to the government for that. But I think with a little more effort, we can attract a lot more customers, and by making the visa process even simpler. And of course, communication. So that communication is one of the most key aspects. When we had the Incredible India campaign going on,
Correct.
we used to see, almost 20 to 30% growth per annum in the numbers. And ever since, first of all, that campaign has been totally shelved. There is nothing happening on the communications front as far as India is concerned. Neither on social media, nor in print media, nor on electronic media, nor by way of the embassies across the world. So communication. Then the second issue is the visas. And the most important issue, according to me, is the taxation. If we don't look at taxation, we will keep on losing more
Mr.
and
Ashwini, a
more
lot
money.
of points there that you put out there, a heavy-duty argument that you're putting out as far as what needs to be done by the Indian government is concerned. Mr. Pushan Sharma, you of course compiled the report and you of course included your points as well. But this is very interesting perspective that we're getting here. Is the fact that it's not just that other countries are making tourism much more attractive with their marketing and communication. It's almost like India is making it tougher with the taxes, like Mr. Ashwini pointed out. The taxes are also making it less attractive for people to travel in India, and adding to that the lack of facilities, the bad network, it's just making it tougher for India as a tourism sector.
Right. So, in fact, in our report, we did an analysis of what does it cost to take a holiday in, say, Goa versus a Bangkok, and compare it for a person who's doing a 5-star travel. So accommodations remaining similar across both these locations. We looked at similar chains. And what comes out of that analysis is keeping everything end-to-end cost in mind, airfares, food, stay, everything. It's about 7% cheaper to go to Bangkok for 5 days than Goa the next month. So that clearly shows that there is,
I think that's the answer. That's the answer that we're looking for.
Right. So which is why, we're seeing a sharp increase in outbound tourism from India. And the inbound tourism is still not catching up to the levels that we would like.
Absolutely. Mr. Goyal, how do you respond to this? Because, I mean, I don't think a lot of people who would be watching right now would be surprised with this fact, because this has been something that's been in discussion as well on social media as well, about how taking a trip abroad costs much lesser than taking a trip inside India as well. So clearly the government has a lot of work to do in this sector as well.
To the
All right,
government.
I'll get in Mr. Ashwini Kakkar here. We seem to have some issue there with the network of Mr. Goyal. Mr. Ashwini Kakkar, this is again hilarious. The fact that someone who is planning to go to a trip to Goa, it will be a much cheaper option for him to go to Bangkok. How do you even look at it?
So, that is becoming a larger and larger problem as more and more countries outside of India are wanting to get Indians to come to their country, and not only Indians, but they are trying to get global travelers to come to their countries. They are making it easier for the visas. So there is no visa requirement. That makes it very easy. They are increasing connectivity hugely. For example, the Vietnamese airlines, Vietjet and others, are offering fares from India which are 35,000 rupees return. These are incredible fares. And today, it costs me, as much to travel from, let's say, Mumbai to Calcutta and back during a bad day. And these kind of things will have a huge effect and impact. And if you look at the situation, in spite of the two wars that are going on in the vicinity of the Middle East, the Middle East numbers for inbound tourism have gone up by 26%. You know, and this is 26% over the pre-COVID numbers. And if you look at generally at Africa, even forget about Europe. I mean, even if you look at Africa, African numbers are up by 9%, whereas India is still at 90% of pre-pandemic level. Now, clearly, the Ministry of Tourism and the other ministries need to come together on this. The Home Ministry needs to say, okay, we'll do a little bit for the visas. The Aviation Ministry should say, okay, we'll do something for the taxes on air turbine fuel and things like that, and increase the connectivity to India. And the finance ministry needs to say, okay, let us try with the reduced taxes, because the Laffer curve is something that is known to work. If you reduce taxes, the number of customers will be much higher, and those numbers will more than make up for the loss in taxes. So if you look at some of these things holistically and include in your list, for example, communication, then I think India has a great chance. We are one of the most well-endowed countries in the world. Whether you look at beaches, you look at mountains, you look at historic monuments, you look at whatever area you want to look at, we are well endowed and people want to come, but let us make it easier for inbound customers to travel to India.
Absolutely. I believe Mr. Goyal has joined us back. Mr. Goyal, if you can hear me now.
Yes.
Like Mr. Kakkar was saying here, the fact that multiple industries, multiple ministries have to come together on this. We can't just leave it up to the tourism ministry. The finance ministry has to come to, has to understand the fact that the taxes are also pushing away tourists. The aviation ministry also needs to understand that the airfares are also making it tougher for the tourists to travel. So a lot of ministries need to sit together, look at the holistic picture and really come up with a solution for this, because a lot more destinations away from India are costing cheaper than a domestic travel would cost.
You see, we have outpriced ourselves from the international competing countries. 100% right that, we are, by overtaxing this industry, we are killing the goose that can lay golden eggs. In fact, I had written about this about 12 years back in my book on poverty eradication and economic development through tourism, that coordination between the aviation ministry, tourism ministry, finance ministry, railways, we need to have coordinated effort. And I'm very happy for the first time today on World Tourism Day, we had the Minister of Civil Aviation and Tourism jointly present there, because we cannot have tourism without civil aviation. If there are no international seats, how will the tourists come? So the airfares have skyrocketed.
Correct.
In 2019, a fare from America to India was about 60,000 rupees. Today it is 1 lakh 50,000 rupees or 1,60,000 rupees. So, we need to we need to have an integrated, coordinated approach. And this can only be done.
Correct.
I had suggested that under the cabinet secretary, once a month or once in 2 months or 3 months, a coordination meeting should be held of all the secretaries of the concerned ministries so that the joint action can be taken. Here, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Everyone is doing something very nice as far as they're concerned. We are building international fantastic airports, but there are no flights. So, we need to have
Correct.
the vision of the Prime Minister is great because I think, and the infrastructure is on a fast track. Infrastructure is there, but marketing that infrastructure is what is needed. And otherwise, jungle mein mor
Absolutely.
nacha,
Mr.
kisi
Goel,
ne
like
nahi
you said,
dekha.
a great vision document doesn't always really translate into action. I think that's the need of the hour right now.
We need to
Different
translate.
ministries need to come together and really put out a coordinated effort here to ensure that India's tourism really picks up. And gentlemen, we are running short of time on the broadcast, but really appreciate you joining us right now. Mr. Pushan Sharma, thank you for this report and putting a light on the tourism, the state of tourism in India as well. Mr. Subhash Goel and Mr. Ashwini Kakkar, appreciate you joining us with your expertise on the subject as well. All right, viewers, on that note, that's it from my end here at Mirror Prime. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned.